Today's video we will be discussing about grading of epithelial dysplasia. Why do we need to grade epithelial dysplasia? For uniformity in reporting, for proper management of the lesion. Third is to assess the risk of malignant transformation of the potentially malignant lesion or condition based on the degree of epithelial dysplasia that we see. In my previous video, I have discussed the concept of epithelial dysplasia in detail. I have discussed both cellular changes and architectural changes. The list is given here. So when we think of grading, the ingredients that we need are 7 cellular changes and 9 architectural changes of epithelial dysplasia. In the past 2 decades, more than 20 classification systems have been developed for grading of epithelial dysplasia. Let's start one by one. The first one is by Smith and Pinbog in the year 1969. They evaluated 13 histologic features which were standardized by a set of photographs. Each feature was graded as absent with the score 0 and slight and marked with the score of 1 to 10. All these scores were added to give the epithelial atypia index. After adding the scores, if the score value, that is epithelial atypia index, was between 0 and 10, it was considered no dysplasia. If it was between 11 and 25, mild dysplasia. 26 to 45 was considered moderate dysplasia, and more than 46 was considered severe dysplasia in Smith and Pinbog grading system. Then came the 1978 World Health Organization, that is WHO classification, which considered 12 characteristic features of dysplasia and graded epithelial dysplasia as mild, moderate and severe by dividing the epithelium into thirds, that is upper third, let's write it as upper third, middle third and lower third. When the dysplastic features are limited to lower third, it is mild dysplasia. Up to 2/3 it is moderate dysplasia, and above 2/3 it is severe dysplasia. This is the second grading system of epithelial dysplasia. The third classification system given in 2003 by Ljubljana, called as Ljubljana classification, which was actually developed to grade laryngeal hyperplastic lesions by Cambic and Lennart in the year 1971, which was taken by Zerdonner in the year 2003 and applied to oral epithelial hyperplastic lesions. And in this system, the epithelial dysplasia was graded as simple hyperplasia, abnormal hyperplasia, atypical hyperplasia or risky epithelium, and finally carcinoma in situ. This classification system basically gives us a progressive model of grading, that is an epithelium from simple hyperplasia to abnormal hyperplasia changes to atypical hyperplasia, which poses some risk hence called as risky epithelium, leading to carcinoma in situ, and finally progressing into a malignancy, that is squamous cell carcinoma. This grading system kind of helped in arriving at the treatment options. The first two, no follow-up; second, that is atypical, follow-up was strict one, and carcinoma in situ and progressive diseases after that will be surgery and radiation, handled by surgery and radiation. However, the major drawback of this system was the lesions such as OSMF and OLP with atrophic epithelium and no atypical epithelium could not be graded, as this lesion considered grading of only the hyperplastic lesions. The fourth grading system developed in the year 2005 called as SIN/dysplasia classification, where SIN stands for squamous intraepithelial neoplasia, hence squamous intraepithelial neoplasia dysplasia classification, which was mainly developed for cervical intraepithelial neoplasia. Later adapted to oral intraepithelial neoplasia. According to this system, dysplasia is considered as a spectrum with hyperplastic lesions at one end and atrophic lesions the other end of the spectrum. Clinically, hyperplastic lesions correspond to leukoplakia and atrophic lesions correspond to erythroplakia, and they graded the dysplasia into low grade and high grade. However, the drawback was in the middle of the spectrum where the features were overlapping. Here these lesions were underdiagnosed, and this system was highly subjective. Again, in the year 2005, WHO came up with its classification and considered all these dysplastic features, included increased nuclear size and all the other architectural changes, and excluded loss of epithelial cohesion, and graded dysplasia as squamous hyperplasia, mild dysplasia, moderate dysplasia, severe dysplasia, and carcinoma in situ. Next we have the fifth system, that is basically 2017 modification of WHO classification, 2017 WHO classification, which is basically a modification to 2005 classification. That is, all these dysplastic features that we are seeing are all included, and in this 2017 the increased nuclear size is removed. Further, basal cell hyperplasia is not included, and they consider loss of epithelial cohesion as one of the features, and graded epithelial dysplasia into just mild dysplasia, moderate dysplasia, and severe dysplasia. Let's see how 2017 classification is different from 2005 classification. What are the modifications? The feature increased nuclear size was considered in 2005 classification but was removed in 2017. The basal cell hyperplasia feature was included in 2005 classification, which was removed in 2017 classification, and loss of epithelial cohesion was a feature that was not there in 2005 and included in 2017 classification. Instead of saying removed in 2005, this feature was not even considered in 2005 classification. Further, the grading was also modified in 2017. 2005 we had squamous hyperplasia along with mild, moderate and severe dysplastic features and carcinoma in situ. So this carcinoma in situ and squamous hyperplasia was removed in 2017 classification. In both these systems, that is 2005 and 2017 system, mild, moderate, severe were based on the levels of dysplasia in the epithelium. The lower third considered mild, up to 2/3 moderate, and above that was severe, similar to 1978 WHO classification system. For now, 2017 system is the latest one. However, I have discussed this 2005 and 2017 back to back so that it will be easy for me to compare and tell you guys how these two are different. Between these two systems, there was another classification system that came into existence in 2006. So let's discuss about that. Now this binary system, which considered dysplasia as low risk and high risk for malignant transformation, was also called as two-tier system, and this was developed for better reproducibility and better clinical utility. Now, what is low risk? It is no questionable or mild type of dysplasia that we see in WHO classification system. Similarly, high risk corresponds to moderate and high dysplasia, moderate and severe dysplasia of WHO classification system. Finally, here are the few photomicrographs of histopathology of all these various grades of epithelial dysplasia. The first one is the mild dysplasia. The second one, as you can see, dysplastic features up to 2/3 is moderate. Here it's almost above the 2/3 level and it is severe dysplasia. And the fourth image showing top to bottom changes of dysplasia called as carcinoma in situ. And this grading system is mainly the WHO type, which corresponds to the binary system as mild, posing low risk of malignant transformation, whereas moderate, severe and carcinoma in situ posing high risk for malignant transformation. This completes our discussion on grading of epithelial dysplasia. Hope you all liked it. Please feel free to comment on my channel, like and subscribe to my channel. In my next video, we will be learning to draw the histopathology diagram of these. Till then, stay safe. Bye.